Good morning, Santa Clarita. Welcome in. So good to have you. Happy Friday. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson, and, well, yeah, it's Friday, and we're happy to have you. You know, our show, Eye on the Valley, is brought to you, as I said, by SCVi and iLead Schools. We are a network of charter schools, free public schools, just doing things a little bit differently. We've got campuses here in Castaic on the west side of town, right off of Newhall Ranch Road. We've got another campus in Agua, just up the 14 here. We've got several campuses in Lancaster, as a matter of fact. We've got a fully accredited online school. We've got an independent study program that I pronounce homeschool, but then I get my wrist slapped for it. That's a whole story in and of itself. I tell you what we do have. We have got an educational format to meet the needs of every child. So whether that's dropping them off at 8 and picking them up at 3, or doing it from home, or doing it online, or hybrid, whatever it is that your kid needs, we've got something for you. Check us out at iLeadSchools.org for information on any of our schools for meeting the needs of whatever your child needs. So, that's iLeadSchools.org. So we keep our eye on education here in Santa Clarita and across the nation as well. But then, like the show says, we keep our eye on the valley as well. So we like to see what's going on in and around Santa Clarita and the Antelope Valleys, and we try to put together a show that'll make you chuckle once in a while. We like having a good time, and we goof off. And speaking of goofing off, we end the show with Big T. So he comes in and goofs at the end of the show. But we've got some amazing guests before we get to his silliness. We'll get to that in just a second. It's been a crazy week this week. I don't know about you, Jen. It's just been a little weird, wacky. Work has been crazy. Yeah. The weather has been crazy.
The weather is brutal. That's not helping anything.
The world has been crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? If your work week, the weather, the world has all been crazy. You know what else is about to get crazy? That starts with a W. The weekend. Yeah, it is Friday, y'all. So the weekend is almost here. You made it. So let's ease into it together. Pour yourself that second cup of coffee, because coffee loves you so much. And let's enjoy the show together. It's going to be another great one. In just a moment, we're going to get reacquainted with Kathleen Fredette. You know, it's been a while since we've had Kathleen on the show here on Eye on the Valley, too long, in fact. And Kathleen is just an amazing educator who's changing lives across the iLead network of schools. She is our Director of STEAM Initiatives. What a cool title. And she's leading some incredible projects that you're really not going to believe are being done at the levels she's doing them in grades TK through 12th grade. She's helping kids learn to fly. She's sending their work up into space and a lot more. So we'll talk to Kath in just a minute. And then in hour number 2, we have Dr. Josh Wentz. No, he's not that kind of doctor. He is a doctor of the opera. That's right. He runs the Mission Opera right here in Santa Clarita. Did you know that we had an opera house in town? Well, we do. Sort of. We'll be talking about that next hour. Like I said, we'll get to Dr. Wentz. And then, yes, we will horse around a little bit with Big T's 5 minutes of fame. You know, last week I got in trouble with Mom a little bit because I think Big T only got about 3 minutes.
It was short, yeah. I mean, that's all he needs. He's okay. He'll be fine.
Let's be honest, Jen. He needs a lot less than that. But I get in trouble over the weekend with Mom if I don't put Big T on. So we've got breathtaking STEAM education, a local opera house, and lots of laughs. So you're not going to want to miss any of it. So relax and kick back with us right here on Eye on the Valley. As I said, my first guest this morning is a teacher who has supported high school students obtaining their pilot's rating, successfully launched 18 student-authored experiments to the International Space Station, and inspired a generation of students to keep their eyes upward. Kathleen Fredette is married 37 years with 4 entrepreneur sons. She's a glider pilot, a scuba diver, an educator with her BA in Biblical Studies and Communications, a master's degree in STEM education, curriculum, and design. She's certified in gifted education and holds a California single subject science credential. And she is also the recipient of, well, There's more awards here and honors than I can rattle off. So I'm going to let Kathleen do it. Kathleen, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Matt, hello, and thanks for having me again. That's fun.
We love having you here. You're doing some inspiring things, and it's funny. Every time we have you... Whoa, Kathleen, are you flying right now?
No, my God. Okay, I thought I could sneak in a walk while we were talking, and a bus went by. I'll try to mute that. I am so sorry. I thought I was being really sneaky, but apparently not.
Stay out of the way of the bus. Just be safe while we're doing this. But Kathleen, we always love having you on the show, and it's funny. Every time you are on, I get the same question typically, day of or a couple of days after the show. She really do all that stuff with 8th graders, with 4th graders, with high schoolers? Yes, you do. So let's start, Kathleen, with kind of your what's influenced you. I know that you've flown on, I believe it's been 5 different missions with NASA's SOFIA project. So can you tell us about that experience and how it influenced your passion for aerospace education?
Yeah, thanks for that question, because, there's pivotal things, I think, if we look at our lives and go, what are those moments? Some of them are not great. Some of them are great, that have changed the trajectory of your life. And when I was selected as one of the first 5 educators to fly on NASA SOFIA, which has since been retired, it was a 747 that had been really tricked out with this huge infrared telescope and a sort of garage door on the side of the plane that, while it was flying at the highest part of the stratosphere, the garage door opened. So imagine, here we are in a plane, let's open a door. It's like, who would think of that? Of course, but it was amazing. And that plane could fly all over the world and really position itself to get the kind of data that a normal observatory wouldn't. So it was called a flying observatory. So, around 2011, before I was with iLead, I was selected to fly on her. Honestly, I didn't even know what she was when I applied. I mean, I literally had zero connection to aerospace at the time. And that experience of being an educator on SOFIA, I kind of fell in love with that plane. Like when you walked into the hangar, this huge 747, it was just gleaming. And I remember having like this affection for her that every time I saw her, like, ah. And that experience just moved me into STEM more than I was, and then really moved me into aerospace. And I ended up being an advocate for that mission. I happened to live about 12 minutes from the NASA Center in Palmdale, California, where she launched. I could see SOFIA out of my second-story window. And I became an advocate because, NASA mission dollars are, they're sequestered for each thing. That's not the right word, is it? Is that the right word, Matt? Sequestered? No.
You know what? We're going with it. I like it.
Designated. Ooh. There you go. And she was always on the chopping block. Any missions, always had to say, hey, we deserve to have X dollars. And I had felt that program was one of the only programs that actually invited educators to come on and fly. And so it had such a profound impact on me that I was going to local congressmen and senators and saying, no, let me tell you as a teacher why we need more of this. And it was one of those things that I just became very outspoken for her. And therefore they kept asking me back on to fly. Hardly anyone gets more than one flight. And I ended up flying 5 times. Every time they brought a dignitary on, I was the token educator on the flight.
Well, let's use the term go-to.
There. Oh, I like that so much better. But, it was a NASA mission that was kind of vampiric because she would fly at 6 o'clock. Around 6 o'clock, you would take off. And then you were up all night. Okay. Because, of course, you're doing the data collection during the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. And that mission ended up hosting educators, more and more educators to come on. And, in fact, at least one of our educators, 2 were involved in applying for and subsequently becoming part of that program. And so I was really stoked that some of the teachers that I was supporting at iLead also got involved with Sophia before she retired. I got to fly on the second to the last mission, and that was a full circle moment in 2022. I don't know if you were at that air show out at Edwards Air Force Base. Did you go to that?
I was not able to make that one, but I do remember how emotional it was for you. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so full circle because when I started out, I knew nothing, and I was not involved in aviation. I was not involved in space. And so to be back on her and to have come this far and to be given so many gifts in this realm because of that mission and the people associated with it, it was very emotional for me. And I got to fly with some really amazing folks from NASA and talk about that. And then at the air show, it was people were weeping. She did a very low pass with her door open, which she never did because, you didn't ever have like dust and debris open to that telescope. So everyone knew, this is really the last thing when she did a low pass, maybe at I don't know, I'm going to guess maybe 2,000 feet. It was really low, right up the runway. It was, makes me weep to think about it. So there's a story. That's a long story.
Well, but you've parlayed that incredible experience or series of experiences into providing some pretty amazing experiences for the students that you work with, as well as the teachers that teach them. So for our listeners who aren't familiar, can you give us a little bit of an overview of the iLead student aerospace projects and kind of what your mission is through this sort of portfolio of projects you put together and what the overarching goal is of those projects?
Well, in the end, we want to provide learners the opportunity to do real stuff. Like, don't wait until you're out of college or out of high school to do start doing stuff that's hard now. Start doing stuff that's challenging now, and not just academically challenging from this content is hard, because that's like hard and boring.
Right.
So if I can do something that's hard and everything in myself is kind of rising up, that's really how we gain confidence, and that's how anyone gains more skill upon skill, mastery upon mastery, confidence upon confidence. And so that loop of confidence, we really want to, in our projects, help kids to become little mini experts. So you mentioned a Dream Up to Space, where kids learn about why does an astronaut float? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Everyone, including myself, thinks that astronauts don't float because why, Matt? I ask you this every time.
Because there's no gravity in space.
Wait. That's right. We should ask Jen what she thinks. So we tackle that one. We talk about ISS in that laboratory, and then we talk about experimental design, and then they actually design experiments that can be launched to space. That's called Dream Up to Space. We partnered with Dream Up / Nanoracks, which is our FedEx to ISS. They are now owned by Voyager. And P.S., I don't know if you know this, ISS is retiring supposedly in 2030.
So you're talking about the International Space Station.
I am. Thank you. How rude. I didn't use the
No,
word.
that's okay. So that's the International Space Station. It's retiring?
Yeah. In fact, it was supposed to go off earlier, but it's been extended. So we have now privatized space companies building space stations. Oh. So Voyager is a large company that is in the process of building a space station. Nanoracks, who we purchased our ride, so to speak, to ISS. We purchased our hardware that the kids led their experiments into. We purchased that from Nanoracks, and they are now purchased by Voyager. So that's a really interesting thing to find out about that. So in that project, the other thing I'll just tell you really quickly is, because you can see I'm excited about this, is we've really cracked the nut of getting kids connected to experts. So when it's not when kids hang out with me, it's when they're doing something and we're like, what's your experiment about? Oh, it's about, I don't know, turkey tail mycelium, a mushroom. I'm like, yeah, I don't know anything about that. Uh-huh. Let's find an expert that can help you speak into this, because that is not my area. And so we've really gotten very good at a system where we teach kids how to reach out to experts. If they're below 16, we make sure the parent or the teacher's on that email. And you would not believe the amount of experts who they're so excited because, can you still hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Oh, my earbud went off. Because they don't get to go to space, so they're really stoked to be able to put something in space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you mentioned a lot about.
Said talk.
No,
sorry.
No. This is great. This is fantastic. So, just kind of in a nutshell, you mentioned a lot of the different details about this project, Dream Up to Space. So, let's kind of break it down this way for our listeners. What is kind of in a sentence or two? What is the Dream Up to Space project, and what age students are involved?
I love how you said sentence or two. Dream Up to Space engages kids in microgravity experimentation and the understanding of the importance of that for long-term space travel. And it's open to learners, kids, 4th through 12th, along with a mission patch design artwork challenge open to TK through 12.
Wow. And so,
did I do it? Was that right?
Absolutely.
Did I do that in 1 to 2?
You did. So you've got kids that are, let's face it, at the point of their lives where they're talking about the real world, but your students in this project are participating in the real world. They're doing real stuff. They're doing hard stuff. They are designing experiments that are being conducted in space. And then you've also got another kind of cornerstone project that you run a little bit closer to Earth, but still not attached to Earth. Can you talk for just a second about the glider project? What's that about?
Yeah, so in the glider project that started in 8th grade, and now we've moved it to all grade levels, which is crazy. The kids are looking at forces. So in 8th grade, you really have to dig into, remember Newton's laws and the forces of motion. But we also look at what are the forces that allow a plane to fly. Like, that's actually a little bit of magic. Yeah. And so kids understand the forces. We do this through gliders. A couple reasons. Well, one is because I became a glider pilot through this project. Never saw that coming. And also because if you're a young person learning to fly a glider, if you have the skills, you can actually solo in a glider at 14. And we've had kids who have started to, got bitten by the bug when they were in this project and who started working on their pilot rating, soloed at 14, had their, literally took their, you have to take a test, not only written, but show that you got the skills and the chops. They took that test by the time they were 16. We've had kids actually become pilots by the time they're 16 in high school, which changes the trajectory of your life forever. Even if you don't stay in that industry, which I hope they do. Boy, we need people in the industry. There's something about becoming a pilot, the management, the self-management, you have to have the responsibility. You are a different person when you become a pilot, and it's so rewarding for me, weepably rewarding for me to watch kids working on their pilot rating.
I bet. And it really is. I've seen the way that these projects have changed our learners' lives in so many different directions, so many different ways. Award-winning STEM educator and self-proclaimed STEMinist Kathleen Fredette joins me this morning. Kath, we need to take a quick break, but when we get back, I want to talk about an incredibly special program that you're helping develop at our local school here in Santa Clarita. I'm talking about SCVi. More that and much more when we get back. I'm Matt Watson. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. You're listening to your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I'm joined this morning by award-winning STEM educator Kathleen Fredette. Kathleen, last break you were talking about some of the amazing and groundbreaking work that you're doing with our learners as young as 4.5 years old through high school, helping them learn the principles of flight, getting into piloting and designing experiments that are being conducted in space. Kath, before the break, you mentioned that we really need people going into the fields of aerospace and design and these different things. We've got this huge generation of folks that are kind of retiring out of the field, and there's this huge kind of dearth in the aerospace field. And back in the spring, we featured one of your colleagues who's helping to fill that need through an incredible program here at iLead's founding school, SCVi. He's launching, well, there's a group of you that are launching an aerospace career-connected learning pathway. So obviously you're quite involved in that. Can you talk about that program for a little bit? What does the aerospace career-connected learning pathway look like at SCVi, or what will it look like?
Well, the ultimate goal is that learners will have the opportunity to really explore the different parts of aerospace and what that area has to offer as possible careers. And they'll do that by not only learning in the classroom, but also being involved in these kind of projects that we're talking about, not just these, but others. We're also doing some really cool work with drones, and that coming out of this pathway, they will have some certifications that they can just move right into whatever is next, whether it's maybe a 2-year licensure process where they're becoming like an airframe mechanic, or maybe they do want to go into piloting, or maybe they want to go into coding or some aspect. So really it's how can we pull back the horizon of what this industry has to offer. We have so much right here. And then how do we get our kids connected to internships, externships, the opportunity to do something right now in high school that propels you and gives you reason to stay in something in college. Because we see a lot of kids in college starting with one major and going, oh, rule change, this isn't any fun, or this isn't what I thought I wanted my life to be. So how can we help our kids really get a love for something that will move them through those kind of more challenging years? And also, if possible, maybe even get that funded. Like I'm an intern working on my undergrad work. Like how amazing is that? Like you're getting the hands-on. So that's the big picture goal.
Sure. Incredible. And you mentioned the need, obviously, up there a little bit closer to you and in the Palmdale, Lancaster, Edwards Air Force Base, huge need up there. But right here in Santa Clarita, we've got over 70 companies, 70 aerospace companies in the city limits of Santa Clarita with, the last I checked, a couple hundred vacancies in positions. So the need is there. And speaking of those folks in the industry, you've got some industry experts that are working with you as well. Can you talk about the advisory committee you're putting together?
Oh, I'd love to. So the advisory committee is a group of, like you just said, industry experts who are going to look at our ideas, look at the curriculum, and then make suggestions. And then also what's more important probably is not only the connections they will possibly make with the kids as guest presenters or, working on a project with them, but connections to opportunities for those kids. And so the advisory committee is comprised of a couple folks who are formerly in NASA, right now in NASA, another pilot who is an engineer working for Virgin Galactic. I can't remember who else, but it's a neat group of people who also, like what I've noticed is people in the industry often want to give back. They want to make an impact. They want to reach out or down to younger kids, not just college kids, because we really know you got to kind of start stirring the pot in middle school is really when you want to start introducing kids to opportunities that they probably don't even know exist. Like I didn't know this stuff existed and I was a grown-up, right? And so that pulling back the curtain and going, could you picture yourself this way? And a lot of the people that we have connected with our kids, we ask them to tell the story of who were you in fourth grade? Who were you in middle school? Who were you in high school? And give that because a lot of people go, oh, I can never work for NASA. I could never work for Virgin Galactic. But it actually could be you. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such an amazing opportunity. You've got these industry experts on an advisory committee speaking into this aerospace program that you're building, again, touching transitional kindergarten all the way through 12th grade at SCVi and building those pathways. What an incredible experience, and all at a public school, because it's my mantra, charter schools are public schools. Kath, let's talk about the kind of educational philosophy that we have at iLead, and how you really are just kind of at the not the cutting edge, but that bleeding edge of what's going on in project-based learning, hands-on experiential learning. Can you explain why that approach to education is so important, that we don't just have kids sitting in rows of desks, maybe watching a film or reading a book about flying or space, but really getting their hands dirty? And how is it that the projects that you're doing really exemplify that?
Well, we already know this, right? We don't even, anyone who possibly could be listening, if we ask them what you remember about high school or middle school or grade school, they're going to remember a project, something they did, not something they learned. It's not usually a factoid. And so we also know that the more that we can do something called transdisciplinary or cross-disciplinary, where, for example, if we're doing Dream Up, we're not only doing science experiments to understand science, we're doing demonstrations, we're building things. So we're going to use the engineering design process. So, and we're doing it hopefully in all of those areas. We're doing it in writing. We're going into the history. We're like lighting up the brain in a way where kids are like immersed in something and they're loving it and they're having fun and they're engaged. So we're always looking for what are the design challenges using the engineering design process that are appropriate at a grade level. And we do these, what we call EDPs, engineering design process challenges. Many people have done like the marshmallow spaghetti challenge, right? But we're talking about finding challenges that are connected to the content they have to learn, right? You said we're public. Yeah. It's mandated that we follow certain standards, so we connect these things to what they have to learn. So why is that important? When I'm talking to facilitators or teachers, I'm like, you want the kid to get in the car and go, Mom, guess what I did today? Yeah. And you want their eyebrows to be, fizzled off because they are so excited about the thing that they learned that they didn't know by doing something interesting or making something. This is how we engage at a deeper level, that learning that lasts. And man, iLead just gives us that. For me, it gives me a blank check to create these engagements, these projects at whatever grade level we're doing. And I find myself so grateful for that, because most educators are kind of hamstrung. But iLead is like, no, this is our philosophy. It's the hardest way to teach. It's the most effective way to teach. And so I'm grateful that I get to create projects as a model, and then help facilitators be the hero as they bring them. They're on the front line, not me, working with kids. And so, boy, I got literally maybe the best job ever.
Well, and what a great segue into my next question. You talked about creating some of these amazing projects. You've already accomplished some incredible things. You're helping kids learn to fly, and you're helping them design experiments that are being conducted by astronauts in space. But Kathleen, I know you. You never stay in one place very long. You're never satisfied with where you're at. In fact, your mantra seems to be level up, right? You're constantly looking to level up. You're encouraging your students and the teachers you work with to level up. So for the iLead student aerospace projects, for you, the teams that you work with, what's the next level? What are your hopes, your plans for the future of the iLead aerospace program?
Wow, that's a dangerous question. And I've got the reins pulled back hard, and I said no new projects this year to myself. Okay. Because we're supporting close to upwards to 700, 900 kids right now in this Dream Up project, and that itself is enough. And so the last one we did was around mycology, which is a study of mushrooms. Mm-hmm. And that isn't necessarily aerospace, but it is so important because the mushroom, people are understanding fungi now, and we've created projects that could be run in high school or junior high, middle school, where kids are asking the question, how can we address the world's challenges through the lens of mycology? And they learn how to actually grow, how mycologists actually develop mushrooms. And it has been, I'm going to say it's like right up there as impactful as the most impactful projects I've written. And I was shocked to see how well and how much the kids got into it in middle school. Like that just was like, I was shocked. And I always have to say, you said this, like, never say never. Oh, this project is too hard for. Like, I never expected fourth graders to do something. So I have to keep remembering to not lowball kids. So there's that project. And the next one that is coming, in fact, we're doing a training in next week, is something that's being beta tested at SCVi, the Aero Pathway, is a project around drones. And so we're partnering with Crew Concept. And there's something right now, and you probably talked to Justin about this, called drone soccer. It's a new sport, and I know you love sports. And so kids are not only going to learn about drones, they're going to learn about the drone industry. And boy, drones are used in so many different ways. Yep. They're going to understand that drones, like, to get a rating as a drone pilot, it's part of the FAA rating, and a lot of the things you learn as a private pilot, you have to learn as a drone pilot. Maybe they're going to get their certification. And then they're going to not only learn how to put them together, fly them on simulators, but then they're also going to, hopefully, we're going to move into this area. I'm excited about learning it, of competing in a drone soccer, which is an arena. And it's kind of like Quidditch meets soccer. Okay. So that's coming down the road. I feel that really uncomfortable feeling when I know close to nothing. Like, I own drones and I can fly them, but I don't know how to put one together. I don't know anything about, I do know about all the safety, of course, because it's part of being a pilot. But I have that uncomfortable feeling that makes me really happy. Like, when I know I'm at kind of ground zero, I don't know much about this, I get really uncomfortable. And so going into this training, my level of comfortability is pretty high, and that's a good thing for me. It's a sign that some cool stuff's coming.
You've touched on a couple of things that really hit at the core of the way that we do things at SCVi and all of our iLead schools. And like you, I had, over a dozen years experience teaching when I came to SCVi, and it got really uncomfortable. That notion that as the teacher, we don't have to have the answers in the back of the book. We don't need to know all the things. That it's about getting out of the way of the kids and allowing them to fill the space of that learning. And the more I did that, just like you, the more I stepped back, the more I realized that my students were capable of stepping up and filling in and doing some great things. And through these projects, Kath, these incredibly hard things that your kids are doing at some young ages, I'm sure you've seen some incredible experiences through the years. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen as, maybe some of your students have graduated and moved on, or some things that have happened there in middle school or in high school that are impacting these students and their future? Can you share maybe a story or two?
Yeah, we have those big banner ones, like the kid who got the scholarship in college, Alec Lewis. He was the first person who sent something to space with us, and he got his scholarship at a Florida engineering school specifically because of having sent something to space. Yeah. I can think of girls. A lot of girls right now are learning to fly, and when I watch them in their piloting journey, I have one young girl called Grace who also has sent some to space. And I said, hey, Grace, do you want to come fly with one of our schools? And she got bit, and she is very close to soloing. Those experiences for me, watching what it's doing in their lives and listening to the families give response, like those are big banner ones, right? Sure. And I could list the kid who had a NASA internship, or other kids who got their pilot rating, or, the kids who I mean, I could give you those stories, and I think they're important, but here's the ones right now that are more. Yesterday, I was at iLead Antelope Valley, which is a K-8 school, underserved, underprivileged kids. And they ran Dream Up TK through 8. And I was out there presentation learning. You know what that is, Matt?
Yep. That's where kids, they finish a project and their project's not done. They then have to present publicly about what they've learned. That's
right. So the whole school, TK through 8, is open to parents, to community, and people are wandering around. It's a celebration, and every room has a different space focus that they have been learning about. And of course, in the grades that it's appropriate, some of the kids have actually written that proposal during the project. But that, for me, those moments right there, when I'm walking around and a kid is like, let me show you my model of ISS that I made out of trash, or let me show you what I did on Tinkercad. And I'm like, I don't know how to do Tinkercad. And then they show me this cool thing that they made about space on Tinkercad, and that is where I think, the shining eyes, right? Those shining eyes of inspiration, those moments to me are maybe more even important than, like I told you, I think I mentioned, or I don't know if I did, we had 2 kids go and present at a grown-up space conference called ASGSR. And this was like, they were presenting as middle school, high school kids next to college and postgrads. And there they are in the conference presenting. And so those are banner moments. And boy, I love those moments. But these other ones of kids with shining eyes who are like, let me tell you, and here's my, that's where my heart is just filled up, and it gives me more like a shot in the arm to keep doing these things, keep making opportunities for kids, because I'm the benefit. They don't know it. They think they're the benefit I'm the benefit of their enthusiasm. It is kind of that selfish unselfishness, right? It's that warm fuzzy that an educator gets when you see that spark, right? And you know that just a little bit of fuel and that spark is going to go a long way. And you're pretty certain you've changed some lives forever, but it's going to be maybe a decade or two before that ever comes to fruition. Kath, you mentioned that you're working with 700 to 900 students on these amazing projects this year alone, and you're doing it across our 6 schools. I just want to remind our families that iLead Schools is a network of free public charter schools. So pretty much if you can hear our voice this morning, you can enroll your children as long as they're in grades TK through 12th grade in our free programs. We've got campuses in Lancaster, Agua, Castaic. We've got an online campus, which means you can attend from pretty much anywhere in Southern California. We've got an independent study that I pronounce homeschool, but we've got an independent study program. You can enroll in any of these programs, and your kids can engage in these amazing projects with Kathleen and her team. By going to iLeadschools.org, you can find the school that's right for you. Upper right-hand corner, click Enroll Now. So go ahead and check it out. You can take a tour of any of our schools or sign up for a virtual information night. Kathleen, I want to thank you for joining us. Award-winning STEM educator Kathleen Fredette. Thanks again. You have a wonderful weekend. You're doing great things. Go out and rest big this weekend, because next week is going to be an amazing week. All right. Bless you. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon, Matt. Take care, Kathleen. I'm Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. We'll be right back on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. We just wrapped up with Kathleen Fredette. She talked about some absolutely unbelievable projects that she's doing with our kindergartners through 12th grade. And I say unbelievable projects because literally every time I interview Kathleen, I get questions the weekend following. Really? Is she really doing that with the littles? And yes, she is. And it's all at your free public charter school, iLead Schools. So check us out at iLeadschools.org if you are interested in an education that meets the needs of your kid while engaging them and truly changing lives. And if you're just waking up, it is Friday, y'all.
We almost made it to the weekend. Congratulations. We got there. You fought so long to get here. And so what are you doing this weekend? Jen, what have you got going on this weekend?
We're actually going to, we being my two kids and I are going to head down to the Hollywood Pantages and take in a viewing of Hamilton.
Fantastic. When are you seeing Hamilton?
On Sunday.
On Sunday. I'm
it's
going to be down there tomorrow myself.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
I think it's closing the following weekend, the weekend of the 13th. Okay. So if you haven't seen Hamilton, highly recommend it. It lives up to the hype.
So you've seen it before?
This will be my 5th time.
Well, wow. This will be my 2nd. Fantastic. And then there's a lot going on around town this weekend as well. There's one of my favorite events of the year. It's the 21st annual Dixon Duck Dash. I believe this is a name change that took place a few years back. I think this used to be the Rubber Ducky Regatta. They've got these little rubber ducks that you can purchase and enter, and then you race your rubber duckies, and it is a ton of fun, and it raises money for a great cause at the Samuel Dixon Foundation. There's a rain barrel class and purchase program where you can learn about the importance of rainwater harvesting and proper installation and maintenance of rain barrels. So you can check that out. That's taking place on Saturday. Also this Saturday, October 5th, Valencia High School and Color Guard is hosting Ragnarok. I'm not sure how many years they've been doing this, but they've been doing it for quite a while. This is a marching band and color guard competition. And if you've never been to one, my son was in marching band for quite a few years and participated in these, and they're really, really impressive. You can head out to Valencia High School, their football stadium, and check that out. It's a lot of fun. There's also a comedy troupe that's going to be performing in town at the Main. There's just a lot going on in town. So you know what? Head on over to KHTS's website, hometownstation.com, and check out. They've got everything that's going on in and around town for your entertainment pleasure. So yeah, go check them out. When we get back, we're going to be talking to Dr. Josh Wentz from Mission Opera. Stay tuned. I'm Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. We'll be right back on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. My next guest this morning, Dr. Josh Wentz, is the founder and artistic director of Mission Opera, production manager at Landmark Opera, and the wildly popular, is it associate professor?
I'm finally associate professor.
All right, the wildly popular associate professor of music at LA Mission College. He was born and raised on the banks of the Ohio River in Belpre, Ohio, but man, has he gotten around since then. Dr. J, as they call him, has lived in over half a dozen different states and performed in 9 different countries, as well as all across the U.S. And in fact, before we got started just a few minutes ago, we were talking about all the moving around that he's doing lately. He teaches theory, music history, voice, piano, and choir. Dr. Wentz, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's a joy to be here.
We love having you, and I know you're literally kind of on the run. You're on your way out of town, but before you head out, let's refamiliarize our listeners with what it is you do. How did your life lead you to be a musician and an educator?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I grew up in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, actually, kind of backwoods, picking bluegrass music and stuff like that. Not really. We listened to a lot of country western music. But, I didn't know what opera was certainly at all until I was in college. Joined musical theater like most kids do when they're in high school, especially around here. We have some really, really great schools and theater programs.
We do, yeah.
And the musicals that the high schools put on just are phenomenal, blow me away. Yeah. And it reminds me of my high school. I loved it. I would always sing pretty well, so I would go in and audition. Of course, there's not a lot of competition because there's not a lot of boys in performing arts, as we know.
Sure.
So I would come in and they would cast me in the lead of the show every time. Well, then the choreographer would come in. He would have to re-choreograph the whole darn show to meet my dancing capabilities. So it was kind of funny. When I got into college, it was the same thing that, you know, I loved musical theater. I loved shows and theater. And, you know, I finally had a teacher that said, a professor, the wife of my voice teacher, she said, you know, you sing really well. You just kind of have two left feet. And, you know, I was offended for about 5 minutes. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm really trying. She goes, but we have this opera workshop you should check out where you don't have to move quite as much. So I moved over into opera, and you know, this country boy from the Appalachian foothills, all of a sudden, and I became very, very good at that very quickly. I was surprised, so much so I finished school. I was supposed to go to law school. Okay. I ended up having a senior recital, and this same professor and her husband said, you have to go on and do a master's in music. I said, no, it's not going to happen. I've already got my law school planned out. And she said, you know, you're just too good at it. Can you just do me a favor? Go to 2 auditions. I'm going to set you up for auditions. Just go first, sing for them. That's all you need to do. So I went to 2 different universities in Ohio where I grew up. You know, I sang for them. They both gave me full rides, assistantships to go do graduate school. So I go, do I want to go for free to do something I love to do, or sit in a dusty old library somewhere reading manuscripts, paying a fortune to be in law school that, you know, I don't even know if I'll like. So boom, I shifted paths, and the rest was history.
Okay, so you got into opera, and then what made you decide to continue but into teaching others and music education?
When I moved to Los Angeles, it was I always thought of Los Angeles as like the home of theater and high arts and the golden streets and all this kind of thing that, you know, you see on TV, or at least when you're from the Midwest, you imagine.
Right.
And my partner was from LA and grew up in the Valley and played in these fantastic orchestras and music programs down in the Valley at that time in the 90s. And so there was all this really great idea of how music would be. Well, I started teaching at Mission College in 2016, and it was the second week of classes. And one brave kid raises his hand. There's about 45 students in this class, are impactful, and they're all very shy and, you know, not super boisterous. Yep. And this one kid finally says, "What is that on the board?" And I said, "What do you mean, what is that on the board? This symbol, the quarter note?" "Yeah, what is that?" I go, "You don't know what a quarter note is?" So I had to back up, and I said, "Is anybody else lost and confused?" And almost nearly every hand went up.
Right.
So I go, "Oh boy, okay, this is not, you know, what I anticipated it being, where there's a huge amount of music education in the public school system."
Sure.
So I just asked a simple question. I said, "Raise your hand if you've ever been in a band, choir, orchestra in elementary school or high school." And out of 45, I think I had 3 hands.
Okay.
And I go, "Oh my gosh, you guys are cheated." I said, "You guys have missed out on such a great opportunity, formative years of making music and theater and fine arts." But apparently they just, you know, don't have it. This is LAUSD, and we have the great Heart District up here, which we're very fortunate because they do fund the arts, and, you know, we get to have students that grow up learning how to sing and dance and make music and play instruments. But, you know, it was just really eye-opening to me. So I thought, this is a great opportunity to combine my passion, my background, my experience as opera and as a professor and an educator to try to give students not only the opportunity to learn how to do music and perform and act and be on stage, but also to, you know, what it's like to be on a team and how to come together and build a show, how to produce, how to work together. So.
Yeah, and now with the passage of Prop 28 a couple of years ago, we're seeing a lot more funding come into our public schools to fund the arts. So hopefully those numbers will start to climb here pretty soon. And,
exactly.
And you'll see kids coming to you at Mission College with a bit more experience. So you ended up at Mission College teaching music, and then you just one day you get an idea, you know what, I want to found an opera company.
Well, the LACCD has 9 schools. It's the biggest community college district in the nation, and I think the world. So it's a huge machine. Yeah. And because of that, it's very difficult to do anything, you know, as it is with large organizations and large institutions. So I had a president that of the college at the time, and his wife was on the board at over in Santa Monica. Santa Monica Community College has a small has an opera program. Pasadena City College used to have an opera program, but none of the LACCDs. Valley College did years ago, and then Bob Charles retired and basically retired with them. So none of these schools had anything that was really classical music or opera related.
Okay.
And so I said, I really want to start an opera program and be the destination for the students at LACCD to come and learn about classical music, opera, performing, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's, as it may be, there's too many obstacles and things kept popping up, and it always seemed to be a fight. So I go, why am I working so hard to, make this round peg fit in a square hole? So I was working for, a bunch of different opera companies in LA at the time, doing different work, singing or directing or doing board work. And one of my friends said, why don't you start your own opera company? And I said, well, I want to make sure I don't suck at it before I do that. We try it on somebody else's dime.
Right, exactly.
And then I just thought, well, if it's not working at the college and, I'm pretty successful at doing this, let's just launch it. And so we did launch our own 501c3. Santa Clarita didn't have an opera company. We started calling it Mission Opera because of Mission College.
Sure.
It was supposed to be affiliated with Mission College. It's not now, although we do use a lot of the students in the chorus and as interns and stuff like that. But I kind of, in retrospect, I never told you this before, but I kind of wish I would have called it Santa Clarita Opera or Opera of Santa Clarita Valley or something, so it's more localized.
Yeah.
Because I think people see it and they go, what is the mission?
Yeah.
It's a little confusing, but our mission really is to, bring performance opportunities to our community and to, educate not only students and younger people, but all people, because a lot of people haven't been able to experience musical theater, opera, this kind of art form. And then people get the stigma about opera that it's like the fat lady and it's a 4-hour show and you're going to be singing in German and you're going to be asleep in the first half an hour. And everybody that's come to one of our shows, I get all these letters and emails and people that wait around to talk afterwards, and they go, oh my gosh, this is not at all what I thought it was. I thought of like my great grandmother's opera, the records or the sitting around on Sunday afternoons.
Sure.
And so people that come, they realize, oh my gosh, this is like musical, like a Broadway musical on steroids. And it's like, and we use a lot of multimedia, video design, video direction and stuff like that in our shows.
And like you said, right here, local. And good news is your search engine optimization is fantastic. I just Googled Santa Clarita Opera and boom, up comes Mission Opera. That's the first hit. So where are you located?
So we rehearse all around Santa Clarita. Our home venue is Canyon High School Performing Arts Center.
Okay.
Like many of the schools in the Heart District, they have a wonderful pack, beautiful. And the guys that work there and run it are just saints. I mean, some of the best theater technicians and just all around general great guys, they have been so welcoming to us. We've been there for about 3 years now. We go over there. We utilize their space. They have a wealth of knowledge. It's a fundraiser for their drama program.
Oh, cool.
So we make a big donation to their drama department, which helps fund Mr. Miller and his classes and his shows that he does. And in return, those students get some practical experience because they get to work on our shows.
Okay.
And, they only can do so many shows a year. So there's a lot of students in those programs. So, one might not get to be a stagehand. They might have to build props or something else.
Right.
So we try to give opportunities for those students as well. When we were doing some grant reporting last year, we get a lot of grants from California Art Council, LA County, the city of Santa Clarita has been super instrumental in actually helping us get off the ground over the years. But we were doing a grant report out, and I went back and I counted all the different numbers of the people that we've employed. And it's really amazing that in 5 years now, we've employed over 300 artistic, creative people in the Santa Clarita Valley, giving them a paycheck for doing something creative, for singing, playing an orchestra, playing in our pit, being a director, a designer, a stagehand, any kind of creative. We have a huge production team. And so that felt really good. It's like... It's hard to sell tickets, if you're listening, come check us out. Please buy a ticket and come check us out, because you are actually providing a service to the community. All these people that have degrees and master's degrees in arts that are struggling or, kind of feel worthless because they're not getting jobs, and we don't have enough jobs in our valley in the arts sector to give. We're providing jobs for people and who can do their passion and do the thing that they have their background in, which I love. That's just a huge relief to me to know that the work we're doing is making a difference in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you later on, but since you mentioned it, how can folks get tickets and go see the amazing shows?
Yeah, so our next show that we're doing is an American opera. People are like, "What? American opera?" So like I said, we're more like Broadway musical theater than classical traditional opera. Although we do one large opera a year. We did Madame Butterfly. We'll do Tosca in June.
Okay,
but this one's an American opera, so it's in English, and it's in a Southern type of parlance of English. It's called Cold Sassy Tree.
All right.
And it's by one of the most famous opera composers of American opera, Carlisle Floyd, with whom I had the pleasure and honor to work with in his life. We just lost him 2 or 3 years ago in his 90s. And he composed clear up to his dying day, basically. And he wrote a very, very famous opera called Susanna in the 50s. And Susanna went on to be the most performed American opera of all time. So we produced Susanna 2 years ago, and it was huge. It was so wonderful. People loved it. So I thought we need to do another one. We're coming up on his 100-year anniversary or 100-year birthday.
His 100th birthday, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we really wanted to pay some homage to him again and do this big work. It was only produced in 2001, so it's in the past 25 years. And the show is great. It's really about this old man. You know, you think about southern Georgia at the turn of the 20th century, so it's about 1910 to 1920. And this man who's very well respected in the community, he owns the general store, so everybody has to come to him, to basically their grocery store at that time, right? So everybody comes in weekly and knows this man. His wife dies, and his family's in mourning, and it's a memory play. The narrator is his grandson, who comes back years later and says, "I remember my time in Cold Sassy Tree, Georgia." And the guy comes and he says, "Call your mom and call your aunt. I've got news to tell them. I'm getting remarried." And of course, the town is in a hissy because they go, "You can't get remarried. You're supposed to be in a year of mourning." Everybody's wearing the black and the black armbands and all this stuff. So they said, "You cannot get remarried. This is not proper. This is not appropriate. This is not culturally, sensitive to what you're supposed to do in this time." And so he says, "You know what? I'm getting married, and I'm getting married to Miss Love Simpson, my shopkeeper that's half my age." Oh boy, you can imagine what the town does now. So
scandalous.
They are scandalous. They are in a tizzy. And so it's really a show about community versus a person, and it's really exciting because as we as human beings start to understand that we're all the same, we all have similarities, we're all flesh and blood, we all have struggles and opportunities in our lives, and then we see this and we start to hear and learn about who Love Simpson is and her past and her background, and then the community starts to really sympathize with her and really fall in love with her and accept the fact that she is just trying to live her best life, right? And she has come on to this town, and they start to accept her more and more as the show goes on.
Interesting. So fascinating show. You said it's in English, so it's not the stuffed shirt singing in Italian.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm thinking obviously great for music lovers and lovers and patrons of the arts. Great date night kind of show.
Exactly.
Is this a show that we can bring the kids to?
Yeah, this is a show. It's family friendly. It's a little longer than our usual shows. We usually try to do 2 hours with our intermission. This one's going to be about 2.5 hours with an intermission. We just didn't feel like, because it's such a new work, we didn't feel like we should cut it. Sometimes we trim down operas, and get rid of the fluff.
Wait, when did that guy die?
Exactly. This one we're going to present in its entirety. That's also part of the publishing agreement with their publisher. Cool. But tickets are very, very affordable. People think one of our missions is to make opera accessible to people. Yeah. So therefore, we don't want to charge more than what it would cost for you to go to the cinema and go see a movie.
Fantastic.
So if you're taking a date night out every week and going to the same old cinema, it's time to go see a live show. And you can head over to missionopera.com and check out our website. You're going to see a whole bunch of stuff. We have an awesome social media team. So if you have Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, from what I understand, I'm a little too old for TikTok. Yeah. I don't know. I have one, but I always forget to look at it.
Right, they stopped me at the door.
But, we're putting out some really good content. Okay. And what's really interesting about Mission Opera, we belong to Opera America. Opera America is basically an umbrella organization for all the professional opera companies in the United States and Canada. And this is the same organization that LA Opera belongs to. They're a Class A company because they have a very large budget. We're a smaller company. But the Opera America organization has a national conference every year. And it just happened in June. And so it happened in Los Angeles. And the company, the folks called us and they said, we want to feature presenters for workshops, performances for the Opera America conference to some of the notable Los Angeles County opera companies. And we were amidst the few that got an invitation to perform. And so we did A Merry Widow, what I changed to Madonna, which was really wacky but really fun. But we're starting to get known throughout the United States because we're doing this kind of new stuff with multimedia and video design and all the kind of elements that you would think of more of Broadway or, remember the Spider-Man Broadway show years ago with all this kind of tech. But that's what we're doing. And so that's where we're at. And it's a lot of fun. And people are coming from all over the U.S. to see us. And so I hope that people locally in town will come and see what all the fuss is about.
Absolutely. What a great opportunity. Dr. Josh Wentz, founder of the Mission Opera right here in Santa Clarita, joins us this morning. And they are putting on Cold Sassy Tree. Sorry, I think I mispronounced that. You said it was Cold Sassy Tree.
There you go. You got to get that Southern drawing now, Matt.
All right. Right here in Santa Clarita. So check them out at missionopera.com. Very simple, missionopera.com. But, they've got a lot more coming up. Josh, I want you to stick around. We've got some more things that we want to talk about. We will do that when we get back. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I'm joined this morning by Dr. Josh Wentz. He is the founder of the Mission Opera right here in Santa Clarita. Did you know we're putting on operas right here in Santa Clarita? It's true. They're putting on some amazing shows. And coming up a little bit later on this month, October 25th through the 27th at Canyon High School Performing Arts Center, they are putting on Cold Sassy Tree. Now, we talked about that last break. I'm mispronouncing that because it's set in the South,
rural Georgia.
Yeah, right. And so it's Cold Sassy Tree, and it's an American opera that just sounds like an absolutely amazing show, fun for the whole family, and you're keeping it extremely reasonably priced because your mission isn't to get rich and famous, but to bring access to classical music, the theater, opera, and good operas to the masses here in Santa Clarita and the San Fernando Valley.
Exactly. Yeah, so we do a lot of special promotions and discounts too. If you check us out, just reach out to us, send us a message because we do them for all kinds of students, seniors, any schools, and we certainly could do one for KHTS too. But it's just great because what we really want to do is get people to experience this for the first time. People that like any theater plays, people that like any kind of music concerts, and certainly people that like Broadway musical theater type shows are really going to love. It's all in the same vein and it's all very similar. The only difference between, for example, musical theater and Broadway and opera is there's a few differences. One is that usually musicals are in English because it's an American art form, and opera is usually in Italian or German or French sometimes.
Right, so it kind of throws people off from the beginning.
Yeah, so all of a sudden they go, oh, this is opera, it's in English. It's kind of like a musical. Well, musicals have a pit orchestra, a small orchestra that plays a band or something. Usually orchestras, huge orchestras play for opera. Well, we have a small chamber orchestra that's more like a pit orchestra. So again, it's more like kind of musical theater.
Okay.
And then, in musicals you have sound amplification. Usually they use microphones and stuff like that. Now, opera singers don't necessarily need to use that because we go through years and years of training at school to be able to project the voice and sing very loudly so that it will carry in a big house over a big orchestra. But it just so happens to be in this show because it has a lot more spoken dialogue and stuff like that. We do have microphones for this show. We also do really great professional recordings things from a media company that comes in and records us, so that we have them for our YouTube channel and for posterity. So we always microphone folks so that we can get levels and blend and balance and all that stuff. So if you miss a show or you want to check out, what our shows are like, check out our YouTube channel and see some of the stuff. We actually did something during the pandemic when opera companies and theater companies dug their feet in the mud.
Yeah.
They said,
yeah.
We're just going to wait it out when nobody knew how long it was going to be the wait. So I think if people knew in retrospect how long that pandemic was, they would have probably done some things.
Sure.
But we did not want to waste any time. We had just started in 2019. The pandemic comes next year. So we're like, wow, most new organizations were dead in year 2, with or without a pandemic.
Sure.
Most new organizations,
right.
and especially nonprofits, are dead in year 2 or 3. So we're like, we are not going to let this pandemic kill us. We had so much momentum, explosion out of the gate. And so we started doing all this digital content stuff.
Yeah.
And part of that was this beautiful show called Minotti's The Medium. And The Medium was basically a show that was supposed to be for 5 singers, and they're having a seance around a table. Well, it was still unsafe to have people in the same room in the same place.
Okay.
So we had to film each singer at a different position in the table with the same light source, so it looked like they were in the same room.
Sure.
And then composite, video editing, composite parallaxing, all these kind of fancy video editing things that happen to make it look like they're at the same table having the seance. And the really fun part was when the lady gets mad and at some point she's supposed to chase after the boy and she spanks him. It's like, how do you do that when 2 people? And the lady that we hired actually did it in the East Coast. So she filmed all our stuff. We sent our video team to get her film, and everybody else was in Santa Clarita. So they never even met. They were in an opera in the same scene and all the same things, but the people that lived in Los Angeles, Santa Clarita, never met the lady that lived in.
So she's physically accosting one of the other actors that she's never met.
Yes, isn't that amazing? So we won a whole bunch of awards for that show
so cool.
because it was a very tech heavy thing, and really we're just innovatively doing new things that hasn't been done before. One of the things we did during the pandemic was we got into a lot of the schools and helped the teachers that were having a hard time with hard to convert classes like choirs and bands and performance classes to provide educational content for them to give them a little bit of alleviation. It's you go from, teaching a choir, for example, you've got maybe 40, 60 kids in a classroom, and you have this rapport, you have this kind of culture where they come in and they stretch and they warm up and they sing together, and you can hear everybody blending in the same room, in the same space. And then they say, okay, go off and sit at your computer at home. So it was very difficult for teachers. So we went in to do different workshops and different things, provide advice for careers in music for students that might like to pursue that, and other educational things, which helped us lead and launch our Box Top Opera, which is our educational outreach program. So we still do a little bit of digital content, although not as much anymore, thank goodness, because hopefully we never have to deal with another sequester.
Sure, digital content is great, and maybe there's room for that, but it's the theater. I'm got a hot take for you, folks. The theater is much better live.
How about that? Who knew? So so now we're doing this Box Top Opera educational outreach program, which is basically we have 3 professional singers, a pianist, and an audio engineer, a sound content person. So we have a team of 5 that go out. They load up their cars with, it's called Box Top Opera because they take a box, and in that box is props and costume pieces and wigs and masks and things like that. And they basically do a 45 to 50 minute show where we can pop up anywhere. It's we have a portable PA system. We've done gyms, we've done playgrounds. We usually like to do an auditorium, a theater, but we can do large classrooms and things like that. And so we come in. There's no equipment needed. There's no setup needed for the schools. And we come in. We set up. We have this educational program, which really starts with a bang, gets students' attention, and then we teach them all about performing arts and voice types, high, low, you know, what different characters play, what the soprano always plays the Disney princess, you know, and the bass always plays the villain or the king, you know. And then we show examples of this, and then in between we have cartoons, some of the old great Looney Tunes and the Bugs Bunny and stuff. We say, this is an overture, and what is an overture? And dun 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 dun. Yeah, you get this. That's public domain, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So you're safe.
I was getting a little stressed.
And it's so much fun because the kids recognize the music because it's still very famous in cartoons and in everything they watch, even though I think Looney Tunes is not as quite as popular as it was. But
it's not. But what 8-year-old isn't familiar with bum 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 bum? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's really exciting, and we've got into 40, where our goal was 50 by this semester. I think we're at 46 schools that we've been in our 2-year grant that the California Arts Council provided to us. So basically, any schools, it costs the school $1,400 for production, and we oftentimes will work with schools and their budgets and subsidize some of that with some of the grant money that we have, so that they don't have to pay the full price. Especially Title I schools can do it for free, and so any schools that want to do it and have the will and the volition to want to come in. But what's great is, you know, schools and school districts, as you know from being on the school board, have to you know, meet certain art standards that the state of California sets for public schools. And this fulfills some of the art standards for music and performing arts, which is great because then, you know, the school is getting their programming done without having to do anything. Literally, they don't have to, you know, work on rehearsals, getting the kids up and running. They don't have to do equipment or any kind of setup. We
always
do
love
everything.
it when somebody else does the work for me.
That's right.
Yeah, love that. And what a beautiful experience that you're bringing the opera into classrooms and into our public schools. So, how do schools get involved? What do they need to do?
Anybody that's high school or elementary school. We do tailor it. It's K through 12. So the show that we take out to first and second graders is going to be vastly different than 9 through 12.
Thank you for that.
So, you know, we did a great show at Saugus High School maybe last December, and it was since it's such a big high school, they had to have 2 assemblies and 2 times, and they filled up their performing arts center with students. It was a lot of fun. But if any teachers, principals, administrators, school board members find this interesting, you can reach out to us at info@missionopera.com or education@missionopera.com. We have a whole educational outreach team that their job is to continue honing to make sure that we're on the forefront of any legislation or changes in arts education in the state of California, that we're meeting those standards, but that we're also crafting meaningful experiences for students. So if you've had us before, you know, we want to bring a different program the next time so it's not the same thing. That way, if there's students that have seen it before. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, that is amazing. And, you know, I'm typing while you're talking, message sent, and we'll see how we can get that done. So you're bringing opera into schools, and along with your day job, right, down at the college, you're exposing kids across Southern California to new and exciting, or what we would consider an older art, right? But new and exciting experiences for them. You've also got the show coming up at the Mission Opera, Cold Sassy Tree. Josh, how do you decide what productions you're gonna produce at Mission Opera?
Well, we try to look at things that we have the talent and the capacity to do, because grand operas, you know, that are Verdi and Wagner and things like that are huge. They require orchestra of 60 players and huge set changes and stuff like that. So the Metropolitan Opera in New York City or Seattle or Los Angeles Opera downtown is going to end up doing shows like that. But even they avoid doing shows like that because they're so costly, and if they don't sell tickets, it's a huge loss. So we do things that are popular standards, and our formula so far has been that we do one classical traditional opera, as I mentioned before, and then we do one musical theater piece or American opera, like in this case, the Cold Sassy Tree. But we also, this year, we've always done 3 shows a year, which is a little cumbersome on us because we're a small company, and it's hard to catch momentum and get people. Now, people that come to see the shows, they love it and they come back, but that first that first reach is always hard to get the people to get a ticket and take a chance on it that first time. But then, we're slowly building because those people that come and go, oh my God, this is amazing, end up coming back.
Yep.
So we're building slowly, and we're trying to build faster so that we can do some bigger shows. But the new formula we're doing now this year in February, in January, February, we start rehearsing this huge piece called Carmina Burana. Carmina Burana is an oratorio, so it's basically a huge piece written for not to be a show, like a theater show, but a concert of choir and orchestra.
Okay.
So we're partnering with our orchestra. We're working to get a lot of players from all around, and we're trying to open up to our high school singers, particularly ones that are more advanced and might end up going to do degrees in music, because we want to get more of our kids involved in these big shows. So I'll be reaching out to the high school choir directors and maybe even the junior high directors in the next couple weeks with this opportunity for their students to come and audition to be part of Carmina Burana, which is one of those pieces. You might have you ever heard of it?
I have not. No.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it by name, but then as soon as you hear it, you go, "Oh my gosh!"
Okay,
that's the the huge thing with the big drums, like boom, ha.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you hear in like the car commercials, when it's like slow motion and the car's up in the air, and all of a sudden there's fire and explosion around. But people know it, but they don't know what it's called. But of course, music people would know what it is. But it's very rarely done because it's a huge oratorio. It requires a ton of singers. It requires really professional singers to be the soloists, which we have. A lot of our singers that you see in Santa Clarita are the same ones that are performing downtown LA at Dorothy Chandler Pavilion.
Nice.
And people ask me, they said, I don't know what it is about the valley, Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley, because the people that live down there, they say, I don't want to drive all the way up to Santa Clarita. What? You'd think we lived in Minnesota or Wyoming or something. It's like, it's just right up
20 minutes up the hill, yeah.
I have a friend that lives in Northridge that swears. He's like, I don't want to come up there. So I was sitting in my office at CSUN one day. I sent a screenshot from my office to Canyon High School Performing Arts Center. It was like 25 minutes. And I said, it was all green, the whole way. So I took a screenshot, sent it to him. 25 minutes, it's all green, no traffic. You free parking?
Sure.
I took a screenshot to Dorothy Chandler Pavilion downtown LA, and I go, or you would rather sit in traffic for an hour and a half, pay a buttload to park. Your tickets are gonna cost 5 times as much, and you're getting the same singers up here as you're getting.
Absolutely. So fantastic. The Mission Opera right here in Santa Clarita, providing world-class musical theater and opera to our citizens at an amazingly low price. Josh, you're doing great things for our community. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. One more time, later on in October, is it the 25th through the 27th?
We have 2 shows, 26th and 27th. The 25th was going to be a private for senior homes and schools. But we're doing 2 public performances. It's Saturday the 26th and Sunday the 27th, and both are matinees.
Oh, okay.
So it's a 2 o'clock matinee show. And, we learned a lot over the years. If we have a 7:30 show that doesn't get out till 9:30 or 10 o'clock, a lot of senior citizens that don't drive at night or whatever.
Some of your audience.
So we're trying something new this time. We're doing 2 matinee shows. So it's in the middle of the day. So hopefully people can come and check it out. And then young people, they'll have their evening free. They can go to the cinema.
There you go. So missionopera.com. Get your tickets October 26th and 27th. Cold Sassy Tree. It's an American opera. Sounds like a great show. Dr. Wentz, thank you so much for joining me this morning. We really appreciate everything that you're doing for the arts in our community. You have a great weekend, sir.
What a joy. You too. Thanks, guys.
You take care. This is SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. Stick around. I'm Matt Watson. This is your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson, and I'm turning down the volume on my headset because it's now time for Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. Y'all know Big T. He is an executive and a philanthropist. He's an amazing father, husband, and dog dad. He is also proof that evolution can sometimes take a break. Here he is, everybody. He's mom's favorite. Big T, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Matty.
How you doing, brother man?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear you. Tony, last week we had Councilman Pickles on the show, and he kicked our ever-loving butts on trivia, and you know how much I love losing. So Jason Gibbs will not be joining us this week, but it's still, it won't be no cakewalk. We got engineer Andrew here. We got engineer Jen. They are both pretty smart. And Big T, you got trivia questions for us. For those just tuning in for the first time, 1, where the heck you been? 2, glad to have you. And 3, there are some rules here. Tony's got trivia questions for us. Andrew, Jen, and I, we're going to hit our buzzers by calling out our names before we answer. But you at home, you have a significant advantage. You can get the drop on us. You don't have to call out your name. Just shout out the answer and see if you can beat it, if you can beat us. But like I said, the 3 of us are pretty darn smart. I don't think you're going to be able to do it. All right, Big T, what do you got for us?
That's going to be a tight race, just like last week, because you left me time for about 3 or 4 questions is all.
Yep.
We'll kick it off with Papa's pick of the week. Papa took a loss last week. He took Georgia and laid 2 points. Alabama won straight up. Papa's now 2-3.
Oh.
This week Papa's taking Missouri plus 2.5 points.
Okay, taking Mizzou plus 2.5. Let's see if Papa can get off the schneid and get back to 500 this week.
Let's see where it goes.
All right.
Question number 1. How many feet are in a mile?
Andrew.
Andrew.
5,280.
That is correct. Nice pull.
Good pull.
Nice.
How many pounds are in a ton?
Frogger. 2,000.
That is correct. In college softball, how many yards is it around the bases?
Andrew.
120? Incorrect.
Frogger.
College softball. Frogger.
I'm going to go 80.
80 is correct. 60-foot base.
Yeah, he was laughing at me.
Assuming a 40-hour work week, how many work hours are there in a year?
Oh,
a lot.
With the math.
Frogger.
Frogger.
Right, I'm with Jen. Stop with the math. But I'm going, there's like 20,150 or something like that, isn't there?
Yes.
Incorrect.
Feels like it.
2,080.
Okay.
That was going to be
I was
my
getting
guess.
holidays and then
I was
federal
really
in there.
close,
and
yeah.
then
Just a 40-hour work week times 52, 2,080. How many hours do teachers work in a year?
All of them is the
There we
correct
go.
answer.
Boom. I'm giving the point to Jen. There we go. Next
I've
question.
seen what teachers do. All of them.
Yeah. And I know Big T's agenda. Let's move on.
Next question. We're going to have some fun with some acronyms. What does the acronym ETA stand for?
Jen,
Jen.
estimated time of arrival.
Correct. What does SOS stand for?
Frogger. I actually saw this one on social media. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just the 3 easy letters to put in succession.
Incorrect.
Oh, come on. No, you're incorrect, sir.
nope, nothing.
It stands for Save Our Souls.
That's not true.
Okay.
Look it up.
Talk to your mother.
Yeah, because she's never been
screaming
wrong.
at you right now.
Yeah.
What does NBC stand for?
Jen,
Jen?
National Broadcasting Company.
Perfect. Nice pull.
there you go.
What
Way to
does
go.
SPF? What does SPF stand for?
Ooh, Frogger.
Frogger.
Skin or sun. Skin protection factor.
Incorrect.
Oh, no.
Sun protection.
We'll give it to Andrew. Sun protection factor.
We got time for one more, Big T, and we're locked horns here. One more question.
All right. What does YOLO stand for?
Andrew.
YOLO. Andrew.
You only live once.
All righty. And with that, Andrew ties Jen for the lead. Big T, we got to get out, but I want to thank our guest, Kathleen Fredette, Director of STEAM Initiatives with iLead Schools, Dr. Josh Wentz, founder of the Mission Opera right here in Santa Clarita, Engineer Jen, Engineer Andrew, Producer Sarah, thank you so much. Remember, friends, life is hard, but we're all here to help each other along. Be well and do good, and join us again next week and every Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi and iLead Schools' Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.